is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, brought to you by Kyle. In these chapters, I really don't want to talk about any of this because I hate it. I just really hate it. I hate everything that happens here. I knew it too. Fucking knew it! Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha. Y'all, I'm so sad. Like, the whole thing that I was worried about regarding fucking Rin's plan to close off the pass is exactly what fucking winds up happening. Because of course Mata thinks that this was a power grab. He like wants to believe Kuni and he passes on like killing him outright, but it's clearly like he would have let this accidental death happen if it weren't for somebody else standing up and being like, what are you fucking doing? They're not being friends anymore is like the worst, but worse than that is the path we're watching Mata go down, which is essentially like he is becoming the tyrant here. And he's not even smart about what he's doing. It's painful to watch. He is making a fool of himself. And the only reason that nobody is laughing is because he's terrifying and will kill anyone. And he's making a fool of himself in a way that absolutely will have consequences for him later. He's doing some shit that cannot fail but cause everybody to turn on him. It's astonishing how somebody who had been in such a position of strength in just a few chapters squanders all of that. And for what? Nothing but his weird idea of what honor is. And honestly, that is so perverse at this point. His idea of honor is this distorted, completely subjective nonsense that he has decided on personally with no real understanding of human nature or who he's dealing with. And it's childish and like incredibly ignorant. Y'all, this was so painful to read. I can't even tell you all. Oh, he's pulling a fucking Huno Crema here in a way. Oh, I don't even want to talk about it, but I'm going to have to. Thanks a lot, Kyle. I hate you. So, I covered 4 chapters this time because of me fucking up last time. I'm going to have to keep my pace up a little bit more since I'm covering even more than last time. And last time it was only 2 chapters and still took me an hour. So chapter 33, The Real Master of Pan. No, I hate this so much. The first month in the first year of the Principate. The remaining pockets of imperial resistance in Gajira collapsed before Matazindu like empty husks. Many garrisons surrendered without a fight. But a few cities did fight, and the other rebel commanders vied to present Mata with stratagems for conquering them to prove their worth. A scrawny little man named Jin Mazzotti in particular insisted on seeing him at every opportunity. If you give me 50 men, we can enter cities as disguised merchants long before your arrival and open gates for you when you do. There is a drainage pipe that empties out into the sea here. We may be able to enter the city through the sewers. It's exceedingly strange that Pan has been completely silent. Why has the regent not appointed a new leader to rally the troops? Something is afoot, and we must redouble our efforts to spy in Jafika. Mata dismissed him contemptuously. Men like him wanted to rely on tricks rather than real metal. Unworthy. So here's the first fucking red flag. This shit about, I just want a straightforward battle. Well, congratulations. Nobody else wants that because you're a maniac. So they will rely on tricks. So maybe you best have your own fucking tricks ready. That's like being like, I don't like guns. They're an unworthy weapon. I'm bringing a knife to this fight. Congrats. I hope that your honor comforts you as you lay bleeding and dying on the ground. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Spies are necessary. I understand not really respecting tricks. I understand feeling like I can't base my entire rule on tricks. I get that. But, like, you can't just abandon an entire course because you don't approve, you know? Anyway, so that's the first fucking thing that I'm already like, these are all good ideas and you should listen to them, but he doesn't. After he conquered each recalcitrant city by brute force, Mata gave his troops 3 days to do whatever they liked to the inhabitants. For good measure, he decided to wreck Gejira's industry to ensure the conquered territories would not rise up behind him. Watermills along the Sonaru were smashed, and windmills irrigating the fields burned like giant torches. So, okay. Again, he wants to ensure that they don't rise up behind him. But then he, completely obliterates their means of self-support. Nothing causes people to rise up, Mata, like starvation and dying of exposure and not having any money to buy goods and services. Spoiler alert, people will rise up because they don't have those things, and taking them from them does not ensure they're powerless. It simply ensures they are starving and angry. Hello, sir. You are creating the exact fucking climate that you were born from. You are creating the exact situation that led to these assholes like Huno Krima and Shigin to come to power, even though they were nobodies, because everybody was so ready to be done with this bullshit that they would accept anybody as their leader. And you could have made these people be on your side and practically worship you. You're an 8-foot-tall, double-eyed god, and you could have had them in the palm of your hand. And instead you do this fucking petty, small shit. You fucking idiot. I'm already mad, and it gets so much worse. People were so eager to give Mata advice, he was tired of it. You understand, of course, that by making examples of these cities, I discourage further resistance in the rest of Gejira, and so save more lives in the long run, especially the lives of my men. Dalo had no answer to that. Marana had the grace to sometimes blush, as he had once used the very same logic. But in Zindu's mind, the people of Gejira were also cowards and traitors because they had not risen up against the Empire back when the rebellion could have used their help. In a way, he thought the soldiers' brutality towards the conquered Gejira cities was just. So here's the thing. His argument about, saving the lives of some of his men could have some merit if that were really his motivation. But not only is it not really his motivation because he just kind of is angry at these people and is taking his vengeance out on them, he's also saying, oh, well, this will motivate other people to not resist the same way. And yet, he's proving that whether they resist or not, he's going to do this shit. Because it doesn't matter if they resist, he holds them responsible for not acting earlier. So whether or he's acting like this is going to save people's lives, but it's not really. He doesn't care about that, and he proves he doesn't care about that. So let's see. King Thufi sometimes tried to send messengers. Mata glanced at them and threw them away. For all intents and purposes, Mata Zindu was now the real princeps. No, more than a princeps, a hegemon. Now, I don't know what either of those words mean, and I looked both up and still didn't really get it. So I'm just going to leave that and not comment on it. But if anybody feels like they can explain it to me in a more understandable way than, say, Wikipedia did, please feel free. Gajira was finally pacified after a month, but reliable news of happenings in Gafika, the heart of the empire on the other side of the mountains, were hard to come by. The caravan traffic through Thoko Pass had ceased, and none of Mata's spies came back. The remaining Imperials seemed to huddle in the Immaculate City and sent no reinforcements to Gajira. Mata's messengers to Zudi also returned empty-handed. Duke Garu was missing, and no one knew where he had gone. Mata wasn't overly concerned. He had wanted to have Kuni by his side as he was prepared for his final assault, but he knew that Kuni was wily and could take care of himself. I'm reading this and I'm just like, Kuni, you haven't told Mata anything? Honestly, as much as I admire Kuni and I feel like what he did was badass as hell, the fact that he didn't warn Mata about this is really causing me to side-eye. I knew a lot of people didn't know where Kuni had gone off to. I didn't know that not even Mata knew. And that really changes everything. Because I don't know what Kuni thought Mata was going to think of this, but he did not fucking appreciate the mind of the man that he is dealing with. Even before all of the doubt had been implanted by them reaching the pass and not being allowed through, even if that weren't the case, Irishi is supposed to go to Mata. And like I said, I was cheering on Kuni and it was amazing. And, you know, the whole way that he was just able to basically like fucking sail in there and do whatever and nobody could stop him was very impressive. But when I stop and like think about it, it was not a smart way to handle things by not like, it was impressive and amazing. And I was cheering him on when I thought that Mata had been informed he was going to make a play for doing something like this. Now that I know that Mata had no idea where Kuni was and that there's no information on the fact that Kuni has taken over Pan and like is like all of this changes completely the way that I see that in retrospect. So they get up to the pass and Marshal Zindu is 100% thinking he's going to run into some resistance because he has no idea that fucking Kuni is on the other side. He tells them to open up and they say, without Lord Garu's orders, we won't let anyone through. Lord Garu? You mean Kuni Garu, the Duke of Zudi? The very same. Though now that he's captured Emperor Irishi, he's going to be king of Jafika. He's done what? Open up the gates now and let me speak to him. They shot volleys of arrows at Mata Zindu and his guards and laughed at this presumptuous man who thought he could just strut in and talk to their king. So it was Rin Koda who made this decision, right? And later on, Kuni gives Rin a dukedom. Now I get that his little bullshit island that he ends up with isn't exactly a paradise, and he's not giving, when he gives out these titles, it doesn't come with acres of land and a castle and all of this. But I still really feel like Rin's decision is what really ruined everything, and he should not have been rewarded. Like, this is, you know, you could talk about, well, he's been loyal to Kuni and he deserves something for that. This is not loyalty. He did not go to Kuni and ask his opinion on doing this. He did not inform him he was doing this even after he did it. It wasn't until Mata winds up at the gates flipping out that Kuni hears what's going on and realizes the damage is already fucking done. And in my opinion, Rin Koda should have been fucking like exiled for this. And I feel like as much as I don't want Kuni to be shuffling the blame off on someone else, I do want him to sit down with Mata and Rin and be like, Rin, will you tell him that you ordered this shit and I had nothing to do with it? And instead he like does this whole thing because he's forced to talk about what happened in public rather than having a one-on-one conversation with Mata. But at the very least, if he like exiled Rin or did something, dropped him down in rank and stopped taking advice from him, I feel like it would indicate to Mata that Rin had really fucked up and done something wrong. Because Kuni is not somebody to abandon friends, and he is not somebody to punish for no reason. So yeah, I just really, I feel like Kuni didn't handle this as well as I wanted him to. He handled the one confrontation at that feast really well, but it was too little too late, and I feel like he should have headed this all off. This is such a shame. Mata is so like... Didn't Kuni tell me once that only I had the courage and strength to conquer Immaculate Pan to take the prize? Had I not spoken to Kuni of my dream of the imperial capital covered in a tempest of gold, a tide of chrysanthemum, and I had hoped dandelion? Are we not brothers who pledged to support each other in everything, to fight for the same goals and not for selfish gain? Mata Zindu could not understand it. How could Kuni have snuck into Pan like a thief while he was struggling for the very life of the rebellion on Wolf's Paw? And how could Kuni now raise swords against him like a gangster protecting his turf? It was impossible. It had to be some imposter. Then here comes some guy by the name of Ro Minose. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've never met Ro before, and I can't help but think that Ro is a fucking god who is here to make fucking trouble. But you know, because of the way things go down later, it turns out that he isn't. Like, we find out that he was drowned. You can't drown a god, except for the drowned god. Oh, but it was just so opportune that this dude pops up and tells Huno, do you see what I just did? Oh shit. And tells Mata, he went in there and he took everything, and they sacked the city and took all of this gold, and everybody thinks that he's this amazing king, and they're blessing him, and that Lord Garu's men speak of what happened at Dimu, and Imperial deserters have spread rumors about what happened at Wolf's Paw, and some wish that Garu would be their king, and also maybe the new emperor. So tells him basically everything that you need to stoke this suspicion. And it feels too perfect. Somebody fucking instigated. Somebody put him there, right? Had to be. So Mata completely loses his mind, basically. Like, this betrayal leads to a deep paranoia that is only just beginning. And it's gonna get worse, and I'm not excited about it. Alright, so Tarulu pairing, who I had wanted to think the best of, turns out to be kind of trash. At first he starts out with some reasonable advice. Kunigaru might have snatched up Emperor Irishi like a sly vulture while you fought the Empire like a lone wolf, but he has fulfilled the literal terms of King Thufi's promise, and it would appear poorly in the eyes of the world for you to fight him like a jealous child. Though the Empire has fallen, open warfare among the great lords of the rebellion so soon after will bring all of us dishonor. He does not deserve it. He stole a title that belongs to me. It might be better to allow him to think that he has won it, and that you acquiesce in his usurpation. Approach him. When his guard is down and he's away from his men, you can seize him and lay bare his trickery for the world to see. Then and only then can you properly claim the throne of the new Tiro state in Jafika for yourself. So yeah, Tarulu is like real fucking shady. So, Marshal Zindu would like to congratulate his old friend on his amazing victory in Pan, and he very humbly requests that His Majesty King Kuni grant him the boon of an audience. Kuni blanched as he read the sarcastic message from Mata. Whose idea was it to block Thoko Pass against Marshal Zindu? His voice trembled. What happened to the messengers I dispatched to my brother to invite him to share my victory in Pan? Rinkoda stepped forward. Marshal Zindu is known for a streak of cruelty. I kept news of our victory here from spreading east and fortified Thoko Pass. I thought it might give us more time to secure our position in Pan and gain the support of the people. Rin, you idiot! Kyle is saying Pairing is giving reasonable political advice. He just doesn't get that Kuni is really a cool guy and Mata's friend. That's fair. I just feel like reasonable political advice when it comes down to just basically, well, trick him and then kill him. It's just, it's so gross. But yeah, it's like fucking probably necessary sometimes. Yeah. Had we openly welcomed him into Pan, we could have made Lord Garu's surprise attack seem all along a part of Marshal Zindu's plan and gotten his support that way. Not just seem, interrupted Kuni. Sharing the victory with my brother was all along my plan. But that is no longer possible now, lamented Kogo. This is a mistake that will be hard to rectify. He should have fucking got rid of Rinkoda at that moment. I'm sorry, Rin. I know you meant well, but too fucking bad. You fucked up so deeply. It's irreparable. Like, this is... You're not going to be able to fix this. And the fact that you did this without asking, it's inexcusable. You know, he overstepped in such a fucking incompetent way that both of those things compound the other to make it, like, just unforgivable. And the fact that Kuni sees it fit to give him a title later and not punish him for this, I can't understand. Yeah, the whole thing is just really frustrating. So they figure out exactly how they're going to like try and make the best of this. And let's see, Luanzia and Kogo Yelu carefully planned the retreat of Kunigaru's forces from Pan. They sealed up the palace and put all the treasures that could be recovered back in their places. Kogo loaded the records, blah, 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 blah. Kuni took the men he brought from Kokru and any surrendered Imperial soldiers who wanted to follow him 10 miles west of the city and made a new camp. The elders of Pan accompanied Kuni for miles. They had enjoyed Duke Guru's gentle rule, and it made them reluctant to embrace the new conqueror. So now we have to wait and see how Mata will deal with us. Once he arrived in Pan, Mata Zindu ordered a general cleansing of the city by looting. I would remind you all, 10 days of this has already happened, so he's doubling up. His men had been promised the riches of the imperial capital, and he wasn't going to deny them their pleasure. He did not exactly encourage the slaughter of Pan's citizens, who tried to welcome him as best they could, but he didn't exactly forbid it either. Cold, wintry rain fell, and as panicked people ran through the slick, slippery streets ahead of drawn swords, the rivulets in the city's gutters gradually turned red. This is so fucking frustrating. Oh, you guys. So Irishi goes to Kuni and begs him to, like, save him from Mata. Meanwhile, Mata's men are carting off all the treasure that they can find, and then he sets the palace on fire. The boy emperor was last seen jumping from the top of the tallest tower in the palace, having run out of places to hide from the rising flames. The fire raged on, and the people of Pan were forbidden from trying to put it out, however it spread. All of Pan eventually burned, and the flames smoldered for 3 months. The ashes and smoke from the destruction could be seen as far away as Han. The immaculate city was no more. With the death of Irishi, the empire is at an end, Mata announced. It is now the first year of the Principate. The cheers from the crowd seemed to him subdued and lacking in enthusiasm. This irked him. Mata, you fucking idiot. I hate this guy. I tried so hard to give him the benefit of the doubt. I wanted so much to think like, you know, he's overzealous, but in combination with the right other personalities, I bet he could be great. Or I bet that he could do what's best for people and start to like understand a little bit better. Or any number of excuses or like potential. But when it comes right down to it, I have not liked Mata most of the time. And this is just Mata squared. This is Mata has been boiled down and condensed into the most Mata-ish substance. And he is insufferable and stupid and cruel. I just wanted to believe that he could be a good figurehead for smarter, more capable people behind him. And he is proving to me that he cannot be trusted as a figurehead because he thinks too much of himself to allow anyone else to make decisions. He trusts in himself so completely and so arrogantly that he isn't, like, later on, there's a whole other thing. Mata Zindu rode through the streets, surveying the destruction of Pan. The sweetness of exacting vengeance was soured by the disappointment of a string of betrayals he had suffered. Fin Zindu, Princess Kikomi, and now Kunigaru. The joy of being master of Pan felt hollow. The city had been handed to him by Kuni, not conquered by his own arms. Nothing felt as good as he had imagined. Which is something that I feel like Kuni should have considered, but... So this is when he stops and he comes across this woman, whose name is Mira. And Mira is from Tunoa, which is where Mata is from. And she has the same accent as people that he used to know and reminds him very much of home. And also is, in his estimation, very pretty. And she has a brother who she was waiting to come back, and he had been writing to her and telling her about his adventures with Mata and feeling very confident. And he actually got to the city, but then was killed by the traps set in the mausoleum because fucking Mata sent everybody to destroy the mausoleum that Irishi was building to honor his father. And it turns out that there were like booby traps in there, like a fucking Indiana Jones movie. And so her brother like made it through all the battles and shit only to be killed in the mausoleum, which really just is super, like, that's just mean, you know? And the fact that he doesn't know her brother's name, bothers him a lot because this man followed him from practically the beginning. And he's realizing that he has sort of taken for granted a lot of people's sacrifices to him, which I had hoped would lead to a further inquiry into his own priorities and maybe some self-awareness. And spoiler, it does not. So then we have, in an alcove by the side of the street, a beggar and a nun had silently observed the exchange between Mata and Mira. No one paid them any attention. With so many dead in Pan, itinerant monks and nuns had flocked to the city to perform last rites, and Mata's soldiers had made many homeless, with begging their only choice. The nun wore the black habit of an itinerant of indeterminate denomination, and the face that peeked out seemed ageless. Behind her, a big black raven stood on the wall. So the beggar is covered in grime, but has like a white cape on that's immaculate. And he says, "The war has not gone my way, but your champion is not the one who struck the decisive blow. We've all been tricked." And she says, "Garu may be a son of Kukru, but I wash my hands of him. It's my sister Rappa who seems to have taken a liking to him." "Do I detect discord among the twins in Fithaweo? Perhaps the war is not over yet." "Stay away from Mata," she said. "I know you hunger for vengeance for those men of Zana who died at Wolf's Paw, but Mata had his reasons. If blood for blood were all that mattered, history would be easy to write. But don't worry, I won't be the first one to break our pact." And they just kind of go back and forth for a bit there with her being like, "Oh yeah, you'll figure out a way to indirectly kill him." And he's like, "I'm not going to stoop to that." And that's the end of that part. I think that's part 3, right? And then we go on to the next part, the caged wolf. Kyle says, I'm interested to see what you think of Mira going forward. She's a character that I don't know what to think about. All right. I will keep you appraised. All right. So I've used up half my time and I only have covered 1 of 4 chapters. So I'm going to speed this shit up. So here is when they have this banquet. Kuni only brings 2 people with him to prove that he is contrite. And he is put on the spot. While my brothers and I bore the brunt of the Empire's most mighty strike, others among us behaved as mice who steal from the banquet while guests are engaged in conversation. What shall we do with such as these? And Kuni gets up and says, this whole toast about how he, wishes him the best, yada, yada, yada. Kunigaru, Mata said, do you understand your error? And this is Kuni, because basically, just an FYI, Mata wanted to speak to Kuni one-on-one. And Pairing told him to put him on the spot in front of everybody because it would make a better example of him and everyone would be able to see how wrong he was. Because Pairing doesn't know who Kuni is and doesn't realize that being on stage is fucking Kuni's native tongue. He is good at this. So he says, if I've given offense, I did what I did in aid of you. And he calls him brother. And Mata flips and is like, don't you dare call me that. You took advantage of the Empire's preoccupation and stole Pan by a dirty trick. You claimed the riches of the palace and the hearts of the people. And then you had the temerity to station troops in Thoko Pass to keep out the forces of other rebel leaders. Do you deny any of these charges? Mata's original plan was to arrest Kuni as soon as he arrived and ask him in a one-on-one conversation for the cause of his betrayal, but Pairing explained it was best to make the case against Kunigaru in front of the assembled leaders and persuade the world of Marshal Zindu's righteousness and of Kunigaru's guilt. And Kuni understands now that he has to at least, he's not going to lie, but he's going to frame what happened so as to appeal to the crowd. Marshal Zindu, I am afraid you have been ill-counseled. How so? To punish me for what I did would chill the hearts of all men of daring. The truth is, I knew what was in your heart, and I listened to your dreams. My actions were aimed at procuring the greatest glory for you. I am but a dandelion, softening the hard and bare soil in preparation for the dream of the chrysanthemum. Mata's heart softened at this. Explain yourself. I came into Pan with 500 men, not to take advantage of your sacrifice, but to give it its greatest effect. Consider, Pan and Jafika were garrisoned with the cream of the Imperial Army, the best of the best. Valiant as you are, Marshal Zindu, do you not think it would have taken you much time and cost the lives of many of your men to pacify the region? My gambit was designed to cut off the Empire's head in one swift stroke and lessen the number of good men who might have to die. Though I knew well that you could have vanquished the army on your own, yet was it not a good thing to try to preserve the lives of your loyal followers from Tanoa? If I could by my actions prevent one mother from losing a son, one wife from losing a husband, one sister from losing a brother, would it not have been my duty to act? Mata remembered the morning song from Mira, and anger drained out of his face. Once we were in Pan, we guarded the treasures of the palace, after some inevitable small-scale looting that could not be denied to men in the throes of victory, as temporary custodians anticipating your arrival. My retainer took care to protect the archives. We took nothing from the treasury, nothing from the armory, nothing from the people of Pan. We pulled out of Pan as soon as we heard you were coming. We did everything in your name and paved the path for your glory. If you think I am ambitious, then you have sorely misunderstood me. Kunigaru's voice cracked, and he made an effort to swallow and to wipe his eyes discreetly. Tarulu Pairing rolled his eyes. This Kunigaru was a consummate actor and liar. To claim that he did what he did in Pan for the benefit of Mata Zindu was preposterous. Kuni was buying up the hearts of the people, laying the groundwork for comparison with Mata Zindu's high-handed and brutal occupation later. Garu was banking on the fact that Zindu wasn't as good as he at these political games. So this is when Pairing is like, fuck, we're just going to have to kill him. That's all there is to it. We're just going to have to fucking do it. And Kunis says here, for this error, I have already punished those responsible about the Thalco Pass, but I don't know how he punished him because we never hear about that. So then Mata brings up Rominose and says, you were preparing to declare yourself king. Your men were spreading malicious rumors. And then when Kuni replies, if Rominose would betray me, why would he not betray you? One should never give heed to the words of traitors, for they would lie to gain themselves any advantage. Now, here's the thing. I don't understand who Rominose is. I feel like I'm supposed to remember him, but he's like brand fucking new as far as I can tell. And Kuni's talking about him like he knows who this is. And Kyle, refresh me. Is this somebody that I'm supposed to know or remember? And when he says, like, you shouldn't listen to traitors, Tarulu scoffs. But Mata is somebody for whom honor is such a deeply ingrained, important thing that saying just don't trust traitors rings very true for him. That's like, he sees the world in black and white, and that shit, like, connects with him in a real way. Kyle says you're not. He's just some guy in Kuni's army. Okay. So, yeah, he's trusting the word of some random, basically, over his friend. And this random is a nobody. He's not even like an advisor. He's nobody who's near to Kuni who would know what Kuni is going to do. So they, like, basically it comes down to Mata saying, all right, I forgive you and I believe you. But they know that things are never really going to be the same between each other. And the night looks like it's going to keep on, like, in a somewhat cordial manner, maybe not carefree, but Pairing is just over here making the most obvious, what's the word I want? Recommendations to Mata that fucking Kuni needs to be murdered. And they know it. So they assign Ro to do the job because Ro is basically useless now. And Ro decides to pretend, because the whole thing is that he's supposed to make it look like an accident. He decides to pretend to do a sword dance and kill Kuni by accident. But it's so obvious because Kuni is dodging and ducking and everything that he is trying to do this, that they step in. I'm trying to figure out exactly. So let's see. Rotho watches Rose dance, furrows his brows. Oh, right. So Rotho is the one who's like, okay, this is going to look really bad if this man kills Kuni in front of everyone right after supposedly forgiving him. It's going to be really, really bad for his reputation and very obvious to everyone what exactly is going on. He gets up and says, okay, I'll join in, and starts to do the sword dance with him and keeps Rotho. And it says, but Rotho was only a common soldier and Ro was a far better swordsman. So this is when Luan gets up and he goes outside and finds someone and is like, all right, they're trying to kill Kuni and pretend it's an accident. And we need to fucking do something. So they figure out what they're going to do and come in, sort of guard Mata. This guy, Moon, who comes in, has this fucking crazy ass shield covered in meat hooks. And he, like, hooks a steak onto it and cuts the steak up with his sword and eats it while standing next to Kuni. And I'm just like, what is this guy doing? Marshal Zindu, I'm surprised that you still remember me. I thought you forgot all about your friends from Zudi. Lord Garu may have come into Pan before you, but we were all on the same side, fighting against the Empire. He's done everything he can to honor you and to explain his actions. Yet you keep pressing him, even permitting others to do him harm. If I didn't know better, I might have thought you were jealous of Lord Garu's favor among the people. Mata Zindu forced himself to laugh. You are a good man, and I always appreciate a loyal retainer who speaks from the heart in defense of his lord. Lord Guru and I have come to an understanding, and you need not be concerned." He gestured for Ro and Ratho to sit, and the banquet resumed. The air of merriment felt very forced, however. So it comes down to Kuni is like, "Oh, I really have to go to the bathroom," and Paring sends somebody after him, Ro again, to kill him while he's out away from the table. And Kuni doesn't come back. And then they find Ro dead in the latrines a couple days later, and Kuni has fled because he really thinks Mata's gonna kill him or let something happen to him. What a fucking shame. It's heartbreaking, you guys. Heartbreaking. So then I'm going to briefly go over, because there's no need to go into all of the details. There's a lot of detail too. And this detail I felt a little bored by, in that I don't really, can't picture in my head where all of this is supposed to be. But I also feel like it was necessary for the author to outline it specifically, because there was no way to really get across to me how haphazard this all is without going through it step by step. So basically what it comes down to is that Mata is giving people rewards of land who fucked up royally, and he fucking is going to give Kindo Marana land. His enemy commander, he's giving land. Just because he was a great commander and that he is, what do you call it? Worthy, basically. The man Kikomi loved, giving him such a boon would be seen as a grand gesture and cement his own reputation for compassion and forgiveness. No, dude! You need to have compassion and forgiveness for somebody who maybe didn't join you soon enough. Not for somebody who was your outright enemy and killed many, many people. He so doesn't understand what priorities people have. And then he starts to cut up territories into tiny pieces and give them to people who have fairly large territories now as a fuck you, basically. He's going to cut down King Thufi's reign and give him this area that's basically all farmland, because King Thufi always wants to talk about how he's descended from simple shepherds, and he's well, fine, go back to being a fucking shepherd then, you loser. He is not rewarding people who have been loyal to him, and then he is rewarding people who have been really shady only because he isn't perceptive enough to see that those people have been playing him. It's very, very bad. He is not handling it well. He is not listening to anybody's advice. He thinks that he knows everything. When the results were revealed, many whispered that his decisions seemed odd, whimsical, and nonsensical. But Mata saw a deeper order, an order that others simply did not appreciate. And the fact that he's not giving the families of Hunokrima and Shigin anything, even though they started the rebellion, Mata thinks that would encourage further rebellions. What the fuck are you even talking about? You think their families want to, what do you... No, just no, you idiot. And then there's King Shilue. Although he gave Mata Zindu whatever he wanted, and kept a low profile, the strategy paid off, as nothing the man had done stuck out in Mata's mind as either particularly good or bad. He decided to leave Shinue in charge of Fasa as it was, but many knew of Shinue's numerous plots and betrayals against his nominal allies. He had orchestrated the politics of Jesus Rima from Boama, his fair, foggy capital. He had sought to snatch Auger from Gan when the very survival of the 6 states was uncertain. To these observers, it now seemed as if Shilue was being rewarded for his crafty ways. Paring explained that not punishing Shilue would chill the hearts of friends and breed further discontent, but Mata was in no mood for counsel. He saw men like Shilue as undistinguished and therefore harmless. I hate him. I'm so mad. And then finally, it comes down to Dasu, a tiny island that's as far from the big island as you can get. And he decides that Kuni is going to be assigned that particular area as king, and that he will not be allowed to rejoin with his wife and child. Coming children. this is going to get ugly, man. This is going to get real, real ugly. I am not excited about it. This is so, like, it's bad enough to take everything from Kuni after all he did. But to take his family from him, oh, you fucking cocksucker. Absolutely fucking not. I am so mad. So then we have this scene with Mira. And she is used to working. But because of the favor that she has been shown by Mata, everybody's treating her like she's the queen. And she's not used to it, and she doesn't really like it. But she's trying to find a way to contribute because she's fucking bored. And she goes into the kitchen, and the cook is only too happy to turn things over to her because he has been trying to tempt Mata with all kinds of elaborately prepared meals, and Mata has not seemed to like anything. So he's like, well, fine, she can cook, and if he doesn't like her food, he can blame her and not me. But she makes this really, really simple meal, and he loves it and asks for more. And so it turns out Mata just, like, misses being at home and is homesick for, like, the cooking that he's used to and all of this stuff. So she's going to start making his food for him, I guess, either on a regular basis or at least telling the cook how to make it. And then she goes to, she is bringing all of the food that he had prepared for Mata that he doesn't want and is giving it out to beggars in the streets. And she runs into one of the gods who is not helpful or anything at all. He's just like, oh, you're real close to Mata. And he says, perhaps I misspoke. You will be close to him. Prophecies are funny things. They don't tend to come out the way I want. So I'll stick to history instead. Mata Zindu is responsible for your brother's death. Listen to your heart. You know my charge is true. Your brother would still be alive now, strong and brave, had he not been seduced by Mata Zindu's promise. And what has he gained after marching 1,000 miles and living on the edge of a sword to build up Mata's reputation? The hegemon does not even remember his name. Men like your brother brought the empire down and secured the victory to which Mata lays claim. He is no better than that Kuniguru whom he despises. And she walks away. So when we go to her in his tent, I think she's like, let's see, is it a tent still at this point? Like, cause there's no buildings left to live in, right? She's like tidying up, and there's a weird tension between the two of them where she's like kind of seduced by him, kind of interested, impressed, understanding why people are like fascinated by him. And she's singing this song under her breath as she tidies up, and Mata is obviously like, it like pulls at his heartstrings because it's a song that he recognizes. And she sees him staring at this jade seal, and she says something about how hard it is to give up your treasures. And he takes this personally, like she's chastising him for trying to keep everything to himself. And he says, I'm observing the reward I'm about to bestow upon those who do not really deserve it. There are so few worthy of being called noble. And this makes her think of her brother, who told her how important nobility was to Mata and like the concept of it and honor and whatnot. And he doesn't like, I like the fact that when he says like, much of the treasure I gave away to families of soldiers who died fighting for me. He did not add that he had done this after meeting her, after realizing how little he had done for his men. You're a generous lord. Would you like to touch the seal? She shook her head and backed away from the seal as though it were a hot lump of coal. It's beautiful, she said, but I do not think it as beautiful or worthy as my brother's life. She finished her work, bowed, and left the tent. Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of their interactions, so I see where you're coming from, Kyle. So then comes Kuni, and he's going off onto the island. He's talking to Luan, who is going off with, King Kosugi will need all the help I can give him, so he's going off with him, right? Oh, yeah, he's talking about being basically Gia and the kids being kept hostage. And Mata was going to send 10,000 troops under the command of Kindo Marana to escort Kuni and his entourage to Dasu and guard them from Rui. Fucking Marana is being given troops. Like, I wanted Mata to make use of Kindo Marana, but you don't do that right afterwards after punishing the people who are... Like, he just... I have one last bit of advice for you, King Kuni. Burn all of your ships after your arrival to Dasu. But then I'll have no way of ever leaving. Your priority is to clear the hegemon of suspicions about your ambition. Burning the ships will let him know you are no threat. Focus on the administration of Dasu and being a good king for now, and let time take care of other matters. So then there's a kind of a cute scene where Ratho and Defiro are seeing each other and telling each other their stories about everything that's happened. Although both brothers worked hard not to shed any tears, they had wet eyes and noses that suddenly became stuffed up. And they're both like very admiring of each other and the things that they've been involved in, while also recognizing that they absolutely would not have been down for that at all. You will not leave, Lord Garou? Rat asked. Daph shook his head. Even if I leave, I know you won't leave the hegemon. I might as well make the best of my career with a lord who appreciates strategic laziness, which is one of my favorite lines. Strategic laziness. Amen. And here I thought you'd finally learn something of honor and would feel bad about desertion. They embraced and laughed. I wish Lord Garou and the hegemon had remained brothers. They drank until the last light of dusk, then parted ways. Which is so sweet, and I love it. So last chapter, 36, Marana and his soldiers watched from the sea in surprise as Kunigaru's men set the transports that had carried them to Dasu on fire. The sight brought to mind Mata's gambit at Wolf's Paw, and Marana frowned, but Kuni's words dispelled the association. These large ships will be too expensive to maintain, and I'm going to stay here for a while. Smiling, he waved at Marana's men. Bring my good wishes to the hegemon, your majesty. Don't be a stranger. He bowed repeatedly to Marana like a servant trying to curry favor with his master. Marana looked away contemptuously. Why was the hegemon so worried about this man? He was no better than a common gangster, a petty criminal more than satisfied with a tiny island and some hovels. Marana decided that Kuni's one victory must have been the result of plain good luck. Oh, Marana, you fucking underestimate this man so deeply? But then I enjoy this. He had faced far worthier adversaries, Princess Kikomi, for example. A complex set of feelings fought in Marana's heart whenever he thought of her. Though he was a masterful schemer, he had met his match in her. Kikomi had, in the end, stayed one step ahead of him and thwarted his plot. Just as she had almost succeeded in ensnaring him with a vision of rebellion, he had almost succeeded in seducing her with promises of eternal glory. The princess was willing to live in abiding infamy in the pages of history to save her people. Marana had to admire such grandness of spirit. He also wondered if, in a way, his own current position could be attributed to Mata's own surely complicated feelings about Kikomi. Fortune was indeed a strange thing. I like this a lot. I like the fact that we get a chance to see him understand that Kikomi knew what he was doing, to admire her for it, to have sympathy in a way for Mata because he knows that Mata was like in love with her also. It's just, there's a nice like layer to his personality there that I didn't expect that we would get to see again. I didn't think we'd get another Kindo Marana POV because I thought first that he was going to die, and then when he wasn't, I thought we were just kind of done with him in terms of the overall story, including him. And I'm excited that we got to see more from him, and I think we'll get to see, like, you know, he's not dead, apparently, so I'm interested to see what comes up, and I'm also looking forward to him realizing how fucking wrong he is about Kuni, because I feel like that's going to be something that happens. So, and he, like, says that he's setting sail from here to Naman's place to look after his dog, which, like, was really sweet also, and I really liked it. So, Kuni hands out titles and rewards to, like, everybody and demonstrates that he is broke at the end of it. And he says to everybody after handing out everything he has, "You followed me and suffered a great deal of hardship. I'm sorry I can't give you more." His followers uttered murmurs of consolation, but they felt warm in their hearts. Kuni and his advisors went to Day, the largest town on the northern coast of the tiny rocky isle. This would be the capital of Kuni's little kingdom. His palace was actually just a 2-story wooden house, not much bigger than the other houses in town. And he asks Kogo, "Have I made the worst mistake of my life? Like, I can't, all of these people followed me and did everything for me and sacrificed for me. Some of them died for me, and I can't give them anything to repay them for everything. I can't give my kids any sort of future because I'm not even being allowed to see them. I have no domain to speak of. I haven't been rewarded with anything. I don't get to see my fucking wife. Am I supposed to, like, have I given up everything to die here alone, essentially? Like, I've got my friends near me, but I don't have the people in my life that matter the most that I was doing this for in a grand way." So yeah, I really feel for him. And then we have Gia, who fucking has, she's so mad. And I feel you, Gia. Me too, girl. So she gets a letter and it just says, "My beloved Gia, everything is lovely. Please send my regards to Mata, your loving husband." She is about to tear that shit up because it's this whole piece of paper and he wrote one sentence on it. And as soon as it said that it was just that one sentence, I was like, he's figured out a way to get another piece of writing on there. And sure enough, I had forgotten about the dandelion, like, juice being used as ink. So she uses her a cup. She took a cup of dried stone's ear mushroom, mixed it with water, ground up the mixture until it was a thin paste, and brushed the paste all over the thick page. Then she waited until the paper had been soaked through before dipping it into a thin dish of water, gently washing away the paste. Zindari letters emerged in the blank space on the page, fading into view like ships coming out of the fog. Kuni had written the real letter in dandelion milk, invisible until now. "I'm coming home, my beloved, center of my heart." I love this. I love that he wrote it that way because the last thing that Kogo says to Kuni, "Strength comes from inside the heart, Lord Geru. If your heart has no center, then you will drift without purpose." So he's saying that she's his purpose, center of my heart. I love it so much. And I love that she says she wished Kuni were in front of her so she could hug him and kiss him and then punch him a few times really hard. Yup, I know that feel. I really do. "I once called Mata Zindu brother," Gia had screamed at the crew captain. "Tell him to come in person and explain to me why I've been made into a prisoner in my own home." The captain had muttered that the hegemon was busy with official business and then ducked out of the way as Gia threw a teapot at his head. She's so great. Guys, I love Gia. I love her the most. She's wonderful. So that is the end of that chapter. Guys, I'm so mad. I'm so mad, Mata. Why did you have to fucking ruin everything, dude? Ugh. I'm so pissed. If you had just had a little humility. But no. Anyway. So, I'm going to go read the next chapters. Kyle, I'm still angry at you. I hope you know this. For putting me through this. So mad. And I don't know what to think. I don't know what could happen because there's no fixing Mata's head, right? He'd have to have like a complete turnaround in personality, which is not going to happen. He's way too stupid and stubborn for that. So unless he's killed, I don't see how this progresses. And I kind of like don't want him to be killed. I want him to see the error of his ways. That's the thing for me, you know? And I don't know that that's ever possible with him. I don't know. So, all right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you, Kyle, for commissioning this. Also, I hate you, and I will see you all next week with a new episode. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.